Day 4 without rain. Your stored water is getting low, and you know it. You've been rationing since yesterday. Small sips, no washing, watching the level in the container like it's a countdown clock. Dehydration doesn't announce itself cleanly. It starts as a headache. Then your thinking goes foggy. Then your muscles stop cooperating. Then your body starts making decisions for you, and none of them are good. 3 days is the number everyone throws around, but in heat, in stress, in physical exertion, which is every day when things have gone wrong, that number shrinks fast. Here's what nobody told you. You don't need a river. You don't need a well. You don't even need it to rain. Because the water you're desperately searching for on the ground is already in the air above your head. Billions upon billions of gallons of it, suspended invisibly, just waiting for the right surface to touch. The atmosphere carries approximately 37 million billion gallons of fresh water at any moment. Not salt water, not contaminated runoff, fresh water. More than every river on Earth combined, just floating there. And you've been watching it land on things your entire life without realizing what you were seeing. The sweat on the outside of a cold glass on a summer afternoon, that's not the water leaking from inside. That's atmospheric moisture that just found something cold enough to make it let go. The dew on the grass every morning before the sun climbs. The way a spider web sparkles after a cool night, hung with perfect little droplets the spider didn't spin and didn't ask for. That's the same mechanism. That's what you're going to build. A large-scale spider web, engineered to collect and funnel what the air is already willing to give you. One thing before we go further. This system runs on humidity. It needs moisture in the air to pull moisture out of the air. That's just physics, not a design flaw. If you're sitting at 50% relative humidity or above, this works. Coastal areas, river valleys, forested regions, temperate climates, you're in good shape. If you're in a true desert environment where humidity regularly drops below 30%, your yield will be disappointing, and that's not a construction error, that's the atmosphere being stingy. For everyone else, let's build. The device costs $12. It has no moving parts. It requires no electricity, no maintenance, and no ongoing cost. You build it once, and it works every night you set it up. Here's what you need. Shade cloth mesh, 6 by 6 feet, the kind sold at any garden center or hardware store for around $5. The weave is the critical variable here. Too loose, and the droplets pass straight through. You want something closer to a window screen than a volleyball net. The tighter the weave, the more surface area for moisture to contact and condense onto. This is the engine of the whole system, so don't cut corners on it. 4 sections of 1-inch PVC pipe for the frame, roughly $2. 2 sections cut to 4 feet, 2 sections cut to 3 feet. That gives you your rectangle, 4 feet tall, 3 feet wide. If you tell the hardware store those measurements, they'll make the cuts for you, usually for free. Zip ties. You have some. A plastic gutter section as your collection trough, $3 to $4, cut or bought to match your 3-foot frame width. A few bricks or rocks to set the angle. That's your entire parts list. If you already own the zip ties and bricks, you're at $8. Build the frame first. Connect your 2 4-foot sections to your 2 3-foot sections at the corners to form the rectangle. Zip tie the corners tightly if dealing with pipe fittings isn't worth your time. It holds fine under normal conditions. Stretch the mesh over the frame next and pull it genuinely tight before you secure it. Think about how a drum head is tensioned. That's what you're after. Zip tie it every 6 inches along all 4 edges. Here's why tension matters so much. If the mesh sags, water droplets pool in the low points instead of running off. Pooled water on warming mesh evaporates before it ever reaches your trough. Tight mesh means every droplet that forms immediately begins rolling downhill on its own. Gravity does the collection work, but only if you've set the slope correctly. Which brings us to the mistake almost everyone makes the first time they try this: laying the frame flat on the ground. Don't. Flat means the water pools on top, sits there, and evaporates the moment the sun rises. You want the frame tilted at 15 to 30 degrees, a gentle lean. Here's how to make that stable without it tipping sideways. Stack 2 bricks flat on the ground and rest the bottom edge of your frame against them. Then, take a third brick, or a rock, or a short cut of scrap wood, and prop it against the back of the frame near the base, pushing the frame slightly forward so it leans away from you at that shallow angle. Now, wedge a fourth brick or heavy rock against each bottom corner so it can't slide left or right. You're not engineering a bridge, you're just stopping it from falling over in the night. 2 minutes of fiddling and it'll sit stable through any normal breeze. With the frame angled correctly, position your gutter section directly under the lower edge where the droplets will fall. Before you set it in place, cap both ends of the gutter. Hardware store gutter end caps are a few cents each. No end caps? Stuff each end firmly with rags, foam, or even crumpled duct tape folded thick. Without sealed ends, the water simply runs out the sides and onto the ground, and you wake up to an empty trough wondering where your harvest went. If you want to run a short tube from the trough outlet into a covered storage container, do it. If you just want proof of concept on the first night, leave it open and check it at dawn. Placement is where most guides go vague, and it shouldn't. Face the mesh directly into the prevailing wind, not sideways, not angled away from it. Air needs to move through the mesh, not around it. Walk your area at dusk and pay attention to which direction the breeze is coming from. That's the direction your frame faces. Elevate the frame at least a foot off the ground. Air near ground level is consistently warmer and drier than air even a short distance up, and temperature gradient is everything here. Finally, position it away from wherever the morning sun hits first. You want the night's collection still sitting in that trough when you come to retrieve it, not evaporated off the mesh before you've even woken up. Set it before sunset. Come back at dawn. That's the complete operational routine. What's happening through the night is thermodynamics running its normal course without any help from you. Temperatures fall. The mesh cools. When the air touching the mesh reaches its dew point, the temperature at which it simply cannot hold its moisture in vapor form anymore, the water precipitates out. A droplet forms. It contacts the neighboring droplet, merges with it, gains mass, loses the fight with gravity, and rolls. This happens across the entire surface of the mesh simultaneously, all night, silently, powered by nothing but the temperature difference between the air and the surface. The output you can expect. In average temperate conditions, mid-50s, standard humidity, no special weather, a 6x6 mesh will yield roughly half a liter overnight. Scale that frame to 10x10 and the numbers climb considerably. In humid climates, near coastlines or river valleys, or anywhere morning fog is common, that same 6x6 setup can produce 1 to 2 liters per night or more. A family of 4 has a minimum drinking water requirement of about 8 liters a day. Scale the mesh accordingly, and in the right environment, you've replaced your water infrastructure entirely with physics and hardware store parts. Now, is it safe to drink? Atmospheric water starts cleaner than most surface sources. It hasn't touched soil, hasn't traveled through pipes, hasn't absorbed agricultural runoff or sediment. The main concerns are particulates that accumulate on the mesh over time and trace pollutants if you're operating near heavy traffic or industry. Both are solved with a $3 improvised filter. Cut the bottom off a plastic bottle, invert it so the neck points downward. Pack it in layers, and be specific about what you're using here because vague instructions in a survival context get people in trouble. At the bottom, a 1-inch compressed plug of cotton balls, not fabric scraps, not paper towel, actual cotton balls, tight enough that water has to push through them rather than around them. Above that, a 2-inch layer of activated charcoal from any aquarium store. Above that, a 2-inch layer of fine sand. Then another plug of cotton balls at the top. Pour your collected water through the top. Let it drip from the neck into a clean container. That filter handles particulates and absorbs most chemical concerns. For the final safety step, boil it if you have a heat source, and that's the cleanest outcome. If boiling isn't an option, use household bleach. Standard bleach at 5 to 6% concentration, the kind most commonly sold, needs 1 drop per liter. If your bleach is concentrated, labeled at 8% or higher, use half a drop, or 1 drop per 2 liters. Check the label before you dose. The wrong amount in the wrong direction doesn't make your water safer, it makes it into a problem. Add the bleach, wait 30 minutes, and what you have is cleaner than most treated municipal water coming out of the tap. This is not a new idea. That distinction matters. The Incas built stone fog collection structures into their mountain settlements. Communities in the Canary Islands have been running fog nets for generations. Archaeologists examining ancient water structures in the Negev desert now believe some of what were cataloged as wells were actually designed to produce water from air rather than collected from the ground, condensation structures dating back to the Bronze Age. This technology predates written history in some forms. It got buried not because it stopped working, but because indoor plumbing made it unnecessary to remember. The knowledge didn't disappear. It just stopped being needed. Until now. Until the pipes stop, or the well runs dry, or the grid goes dark, or you're 300 miles from infrastructure and the rain hasn't come in 4 days. At that point, the 37 million billion gallons floating above you stops being an abstract fact and starts being the only thing that matters. $12 and 1 afternoon. The sky has been holding your water this whole time. Now you know how to take it back.